Hall of Famers here today. I want to introduce Carol and Doran Ballard down.
start scoring. And just a reminder, the pros will be here tomorrow at 6 p.m. So if you guys want to come watch the Pros Bowl, we have 35 of the top 50. Pros are going to be here tomorrow, bowling the same exact tournament you guys are doing. So it's going to be really cool to see. And once your check marks are hit, you guys are all set for scoring. Good luck, high scores, and good bowling to all.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Blair Wauwatosa. It is the final regular squad of the PBA League Bowler Certification National Championships. This is it. We determine our champions in 5 divisions today. Still one more champion, actually 2 more champions to be determined. We have our Elite Pro Squad tomorrow night. And one of the players you'll see on that Elite Pro Squad, François Lavoie, he'll be joining us in the booth in a little bit. Frankie's still glad had it. It's amazing the reception these professionals have received all event long from the fans here at Blair Wauwatosa. Lots of pictures taken with Frankie, lots of conversations had. And I'm sure there's still a lot of people that are going to get pictures and ask him questions and such all the way through. So, star-studded squad. You can see we have a Hall of Famer on here, USBC and PWBA Hall of Famer Liz Johnson on this pair with Charlie Mitchell. Trevor Howry and Mallory Clark. Mallory, PWBA player, almost took down a PWBA regional a few weeks back. There's Charlie, Trevor, and Mallory, all from Portland. Get your questions in the YouTube chat and the Facebook chat that you'll have for François Lavoie. He'll be more than happy to answer them throughout the day today. Some other notables we'll have on the squad. Remember, you can view any and all pairs in play, all 40 lanes currently available to you on the PBA YouTube channel. If you're watching us, obviously, on the main feed, you're hearing my voice. That main feed coming into your living room. If you open up the description on the video underneath your video screen, you'll see all the links to all the pairs in play. Some other notables on this pair. Bob Mackey, man, used to be in charge of USBC coaching for decades back in the day. Good to see Bob here. Carolyn Doran Ballard, she's starting off the day over on lanes 31 and 32. We'll take a peek in on her momentarily. let's take another look at Liz Johnson right now. So let's take a peek here, as this is the pairing that Carolyn Doran Ballard's going to be on. You'll see her popping into the right side of your screen momentarily. Working on an early three-bagger. Good to see husband Dell here with them. Saw a Facebook post yesterday that on their way up from O'Hare, they almost hit a running escaped convict on the freeway. Frankie, you ever hit a running escaped convict on the freeway? You ever even seen one?
I can't say I have. That's not been one of the things I've seen in my travels.
I was goofing around with Dell when he walked in this morning. I said, hey, premise for a new TV show now. Dell, the bounty hunter, like the old Dog the Bounty Hunter days. Get Dell Ballard chasing down escaped convicts. That could be a pretty interesting TV show. I don't know how much running Dell would do. Let's be honest.
Chase him in his car.
Yeah. In the booth, François Lavoie, or Frankie as he's known by a lot of people, and multi-time PBA Tour titleist. And trying to remember correctly, your first title was a major with the U.S. Open, correct?
Yep, that's
Back
right.
at South Point. You've had a lot of success in that building at South Point.
I do like South Point. Yeah, I like the plaza for sure.
Yeah. So you also made the World Championship before the pandemic hit on that show as well. And what did you do during the downtime with the pandemic? I mean, yeah, there were some events later on in 2020 for the PBA players and stuff, but what did you do to keep yourself in game shape?
I didn't do too much. I think I did a lot of what other people did. I just kind of stayed at home and caught up on some Netflix series, and I watched all the Marvel movies. I hadn't seen any of them before the pandemic. I was one of those guys. I was never really into like the supernatural, the superhero stuff, and I didn't think I would like them. So I had never seen one, and then all of a sudden I had all this free time on my hands, so decided to go online and find a list, the chronological order of all the movies, and watched all of them one by one, and I loved them. They were all good.
I still have yet to catch up on a lot of Marvel movies.
I haven't seen any of the new ones though.
Okay.
That was during the pandemic, so I've seen all the ones pre-pandemic, and I know it feels like they've released another dozen or so. Haven't watched those.
Yeah, we mentioned CDB and Dell here as well, and of course the one thing that's big in all PBA fans and PBA players' minds is that league draft coming up on Tuesday. You got to be feeling confident. Las Vegas High Rollers are going to be one of the three being held. I would think if I was Amleto Monticelli. Yeah,
I think so. I think Amleto's got a bit of a tough task ahead of him. We've had for a few years now, our core has been Andrew Anderson, AJ Johnson, and me, and that's a pretty good core. I feel like we've done well. We have had some good results. We were second and third the last 2 years. Then we added Matt Russo last year, and he was a great addition. He bowled really well for us. So, there's always talk in the PBA League of having a lefty on the team. So there's a chance that Amleto is going to want to keep Matt. So that leaves probably one of the three of us at the core of the team that's going to be put back into the draft. So, it'll be interesting. We'll see. I'll still be here on Tuesday. I think I'll be at the airport, so I'll have to check the live stream from the airport while I'm waiting on my flight.
Well, it's going to be interesting for Amleto too, because he's participating in the PBA 50 World Series of Bowling in Jackson, Michigan, and the draft's basically taking place between squads. So I don't know if he's on A or B squad on Tuesday. If he's on A, he's going to be coming off the lanes. If he's on B, he's going to be getting ready to get on the lane, so it's going to be an interesting day for your team manager as well.
Yeah, he might need to send in some proxies or give somebody in the crowd his right to vote or something.
I'll tell you what, if there's one guy that's not going to have any issue with the physicality of the PBA 50 World Series of Bowling, it's Antonio Monticelli, no doubt. How interesting would it be if he bowled on his pattern named after him in that event? Because there's the Del Ballard pattern, the Gianni Petraglia pattern, and then there's the Antonio Monticelli pattern. Winning on your own pattern.
Is there one?
Yeah, he has his own pattern. Del Ballard's got the 36-footer.
Yep.
The Monticelli is somewhere between 40 and 42. I can't remember off the top of my head. The Petraglia is 46.
Right.
So. Right.
That would be pretty cool. That's you might see that situation with a PBA 50 because a lot of those legends are still bowling.
Yeah. It's pretty neat. Now, for the kids, for the PBA Junior, they've got the Tackett pattern, the O'Neill pattern, and the McEwen pattern.
McEwen, yeah.
So, 3 patterns. If they named a pattern after you, what would you hope the pattern would be like?
Man, that's a good question. It would probably be a medium pattern, I would say.
Okay.
It's tough to build a pattern like that. I get a similar question worded differently a little bit. People ask me, what pattern would you like to bowl on? If you could choose one pattern to bowl on, what would it look like? And my answer to that is always whichever pattern's easy for me but hard for everyone else. And that could come in many different ways. But if I had to put my name on a pattern, on a specific one, I would say probably medium. I like to play a little straighter and a little further right on the fresh, so something that would allow me to play like that 10 to 12 area, the arrows to about 6 to 8 down lane.
So
maybe 40, 41, between 40,
okay.
40 and 42 feet would be good.
Okay. So there we go. When they start rotating patterns in the PBA Junior, there you go. Let's get the Lavoie pattern in there.
Tom Clark's bowling the squad, so maybe we'll slip him a note.
Send him a petition.
Give him some ideas.
Start an online petition. CDB front 6. And she had bowling equipment with her. She was watching her daughter Alyssa in Indianapolis in the under-20 division of junior gold this week. And I don't know. I didn't ask her if she forgot to bring equipment along, knowing she was coming here for this, or what may have happened.
Yeah,
but
that's what she said. I think she mixed up her weekends, and she thought she was coming next weekend or something. And I saw her in the squad room just before we started, and that's what she said. She just forgot. She didn't plan for that very well, and she had no balls with her, and she had to change all her reservations. She had her flight or the car rental and the hotels, everything was booked for different dates. So she had to change all that. And I don't know who reminded her. She didn't go that far. I don't know how she found out that she was actually bowling this weekend.
Well, I'll tell you what, she should get surprised more often with the start she has. I mean, it's a pretty big total up there for the women's class. I didn't ask either, because respecting Carolyn's age, of course, she's eligible to bowl in either the women's classic or the senior classic divisions. One would think she'd bowl in the women's classic, but she would have that option, being over 50. And either way, you're putting up 1,500 and some change on the board for the top in either of those divisions. Lenny Borsch Jr., PBA Hall of Famer, put up 1503 last weekend in the senior classic division. And last weekend, Verity Crowley put up 1522 in the women's classic division. Of course, 1528 last weekend as well for Trey. I always get Trey's last name wrong. Henrichmeyer, yes. 16 letters in that last name, I believe. Henrichmeyer. We'll keep you busy.
Would be a good Scrabble word if you could use proper names.
And if you can get enough tiles. Let's watch CDB here looking for number 8. You just talk about the classic and timeless form. 42-foot pattern, same pattern we've had out here the whole time, and she has that ball facing up nicely.
Do you know if she's bowling on the PBA Tour full time, or is she taking a step back?
I don't know if she's full time. I know she's hit the majors, but I don't know if she's hit any of the other events. I'd have to go back and take a peek at the stats for the season for the women. Get everybody in with the security cam view here from lane 31 as Carolyn Doran Ballard looks for her 9th nifty strike in a row. Gets some hold, and the 4 doesn't go for Carolyn. But a great run early. Now, you've had a chance to look at this pattern, Frankie. Did it influence you on what equipment you were bringing up here for your squad tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. here in Wauwatosa?
No, it didn't influence me particularly. Looking at the pattern, it looked like 5 or 6 to 1.
Yeah, 5.
I'm assuming the scores are going to be pretty soft on our squad, so I just brought some balls that I was comfortable with. Similar to what I would use on a house pattern. Now, this isn't quite as, the ratio is not quite as high as a house pattern would be, but it's still for us that are going to bowl tomorrow on the professional squad, they should be pretty high scoring. So when that's the case, I try to bring balls that I know I'm comfortable with and I know I can throw some strikes with. And then it'll just be a matter of working my way across the house and trying to see how the other people that are bowling with me are attacking the lanes and see how they affect what I'm trying to do.
One thing you should be happy to know about tomorrow, 49 and 50 will not be in play for you guys. I've told every professional that. I go, 49 and 50 is not in on your squad, and everybody just, I've seen a couple fists thrown in the air, yes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. So
Definitely.
So I don't think we have any other runs at perfection going in here. We get a couple pretty good scores, though. Let's take a peek in. Back on 41 and 42, or pardon me, 35 and 36. Miley Clark, Charlie Mitchell, Liz Johnson, good score other than that open frame in the 5th. I can imagine you just can't wait to get back out to Bayside September with that atmosphere at Bayside Bowl and the insanity that goes with it. It's a positive insanity for all the players that are out there.
Oh yeah, there's nowhere like it. It's one of the best places we go to. As we see Charlie here on 35, the owner of Bayside Bowl, and I think he just expanded or bought a new center. Or
bought another center. It used to be a brewing company, one of the local brewing companies, owned a 12-lane bowling center, and it didn't kind of come out of the pandemic really well, and back and forth, a little back and forth between Charlie and the brewing company, and it's now going to be called Broadway Bowl. So similar logo to Bayside, except it's a I guess an electric blue kind of color instead of the orange. So yeah, and Charlie, really looking forward to it. I was out at his place back in May. He had the Hungus 8K tournament. David Samard, a Canadian that you're very familiar with, took down the $8,000 in that event for first place. Charlie likes to say he's the center that breeds champions now because David had a great singles at USB. I think he's the only person over 800 in singles at USBCs in Reno.
I knew he took over the lead. I don't know if he still is leading.
Okay.
But he's definitely having a good summer if he won that tournament at Charlie's place too. It's kind of a celebrity squad over here. We've got a couple of Hall of Famers, some bowling center owners, operators. Yep. Tom Clark is bowling.
Let's get back to Liz before we get back to Carolyn. And she'll be up for her 10th frame momentarily. Just so timeless for Liz. It's incredible. And it's neat here, too, because if you go across the walkway in the center here, for those of you that aren't familiar with Valero Wauwatosa, it's 48 lanes, or it's a 72-lane center and an L. And 24 lanes on one side, 48 on the other. This is where we're having the LBC National Tournament. But on the 24-lane side, they've converted 18 lanes into the Peterson Classic and 6 lanes into the Lumberjack Classic. And the Peterson Classic, Liz, to this day, the only female winner of the Peterson Classic. So one of 2 women to win a PBA Tour title and the only woman to ever win the Peterson Classic. Have you ever bowled the Peterson, Frankie?
I never have.
Did you watch the squad that was over there this morning?
I caught the end of it. Stu Williams was there bowling, and Dallas Leong took over 2nd place.
Oh, so he got up 1,600. Okay.
I think he got 17 over, maybe.
Oh, so he didn't miss. First is
which is really good for those of you who don't know what the Peterson is.
Yeah,
there's a lot of shenanigans going on. They'll slow you down on purpose. They'll keep your ball, and your thumb hole will go missing, or different weights on the different pins. Every lane is oiled differently. It's a pretty fun tournament. There's a lot of history to it.
Yeah. Ooh, and the pitch up by CDB and the slide on the way back. Whoops. On the second shot in the 10th. she'll be in the 260s for her first game. Liz Johnson looking to match that if she can get them all in the 10th. Yeah, the Pearsons, I watched the beginning of the squad last week. There was some pretty good PBA 50 players, including Walter A. Williams Jr. bowling on the squad. And they started on lanes 15 and 16, and Walter A. tried playing the first ball straight on 16, and it hooked past the 1-2. Then he went to 15 and tried playing it straight, and it never got to the pocket. So he still ended up on the pair of 180 or so. He ended up being the top 2 or 3 in the squad, and I think he was just outside the top 5 overall. And now he's going to bump down a spot or 2, but still going to be a nice payday, because if you finish, the term used to be, was a little larger, if you finished in the top 100 between 6th and 100th place, everybody got paid $1,000.
Wow.
So that was always the goal. If you couldn't win, get yourself in the top 100, because you knew for a 70 or 80 or now $100 entry, you were getting $1,000 back. So, and that was, I managed to do that once in my bowling career, and that was one of my top 5 crowning achievements.
Very nice. That's a pretty good ROI there.
Yeah, with a house ball, with a ball I grabbed off the rack at AMF Hoffman Lanes. Yeah.
Well, and a lot of times in that tournament, with all the lanes being different, and you get no practice. You were talking about Walter throwing his first shot and the ball hooking past the head pin. Yeah, you get no practice. Your first ball that you throw is for score.
Yep. So we've got some good games going here. We're going to give you a little bit of an audio intermission. Hey, everybody, we got that chat on YouTube. Get those questions in there for Frankie so he can answer them for you all the way through. We'll get a bunch of stuff going game 2. Give you a little audio intermission now, because there'll be a bunch of players changing lanes. PBA LBC National Championships final squad coming to you from Bolero, Wauwatosa. All right. Player movement, game 2 coming into play here. Guess what we get to watch this game? We may bring this in, Charlotte. We may bring the commission's bowling into play. We have a chance to check out Commissioner Tom Clark. Once he gets started, you're going to be on 27 and 28. Do we pull Tom in here, and do we at least his bowling? We won't get him on the microphone or anything while he's bowling. But yeah. do we analyze the Tom Clark style?
I think we have to.
I think it's a necessity for.
I think we have to critique the form.
Oh, geez, that was not, and it wasn't a good start for Tom either. So, 133, Tom's opening game.
And that's 133 with handicap as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that is the one nice thing about this event. He's got a couple of his friends bowling with him. With Bob Mackey and Carl Range, I know they're good friends for years. They used to bowl together on Wednesday nights in a local bowling center here. And yeah, Tom was low on that outing. He's bowling scratch, while Carl Range and Bob Mackey are bowling in the handicap division. And a great toss there by Carl. Carl started with a 150 with his handicap. Well, they added in a rate for the second game, so Carl's got to be getting about 30 pins a game. Bob Mackey, who used to be the head of USBC coaching for many years when it was located here in the headquarters was here in the Milwaukee area. Back in the day, my bronze and silver classes both taught by Bob Mackey. So learned a lot from him back in the day. Who's a big coach influence in your life from early on? I'm sure people may not know that person, but is there one person that really was a huge influence for you early on in developing your bowling and your style?
Early on, my dad is the one who showed me how to bowl. And then as I got older, as I got into my teenage years, he kind of taught me the fundamentals. He was a coach back home. But then at one point, my level as a player kind of exceeded his level as a coach. And so I'm sure, like many father-son relationships go, we clashed on that a little bit. And eventually started working with Tyrell Rose. He's out of Montreal. He was the coach for Team Canada for a couple of years when I started with the team. And he kind of took me under his wing, and he developed a really good program with Team Canada, and we became pretty successful under his teachings. And then went to Wichita State and had some pretty good coaches there. Coach Vatican, Coach Lewis. Worked a little bit with Rick Steelsmith, who at the time wasn't affiliated with the program, but now is one of the coaches for the bowling team there. And they've got between the three of them, there's a lot of knowledge to go around. So Wichita State was really where I always say I learned most of what I know about bowling at Wichita State, whether it's through the coaches or just being surrounded by people who at the time I felt were better than me. And you're just constantly bowling with these people and just, having conversations, putting our minds together, trying to figure things out. Whether you like it or not, you're going to get better. Wichita State's one of those places that you get out of it as much as you put into it. If you just want to go there and coast, that's okay. You can do that. If you want to go there and become really, really good and take your game to the next level or a couple of notches up, you can also do that.
Let's check out the old YouTube feed here.
I think Tom likes the lower end of the building a little bit more than the high end. Early double.
Yeah, we got...
He's acting a little surprised. Yeah, we promised we wouldn't say anything about your form online.
How's that holding up? My microphone sounds a little stifled. Can you hear me okay, Frankie, in your headset?
I can hear you.
All right, then. It's just me. So, let's see. Nancy Strong asking, will you be traveling to Virginia next month? There's a lot of those big super regionals coming up. I know a big one in Coldwater, Ohio is always not necessarily a favorite of a lot of players. How they get treated there is great. How they bowl there could be a whole other story. Are you hitting any of those big super regionals that are coming up during the month of August?
No, I'm actually going to be busy. I've got some other tournaments going on, and I've got some appearances and some coaching clinics that I'm doing. So I'm busy doing other things in the summertime. I know when those tournaments were on the PBA schedule as part of a summer tour that they had, I tried to go out there. I didn't always make all of them, but yeah, I unfortunately won't be there this time around, but yeah, who knows? They keep running the tournaments. Eventually I'll make my way there.
Okay. Yeah, I know they have a big following in Virginia for those.
I think starting with the Lucy next week, or a week and a half from now, I think after that I've got a stretch of about 3 weeks where I'm flying somewhere new almost every other day or every third day. So pretty busy with some appearances and coaching and a few tournaments mixed in there. But summertime is a different kind of busy for me. Not as much bowling.
I've noticed a lot of players have really, especially the last couple of years since the pandemic, have really gotten into the coaching end of things. Are there a lot of requests for you, or is this something that's going out where you're kind of putting feelers out to bowling centers and such, going, hey, I'm available, I'm going to be out that way, would you like to do a clinic, that kind of thing? Or are they contacting you because they're really getting a lot of interest from their patrons about getting professionals in there to coach them?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I mean, by doing what we do, we get to travel all over the country and all over the world even, so we meet all sorts of people, and every once in a while you meet someone that says, hey, I've got some interest in my bowling center, we'd like to bring you over and do some coaching, or we'd like to bring a couple of different pros in. And so we when that happens, we trade contact information, we try to make things work as best as we can. I know Sean Rash is one of the guys that does the most out of all of us. He's always busy with stuff like that, and lately he's been trying to include a lot of other pros in the things he does. He's done a lot of clinics with guys like E.J. Tackett, Kyle True. I'm doing some stuff with him over in Europe in September. So yeah, a lot of times it's just those people are they reach out to us and they want to bring, whether it's just one of us or they want a group of us to go there, and we just try to work together and make it happen.
And honestly, it's got to be a nice supplement to the off-season income with having those particular. Because that's one thing people always think of is a lot of professional bowling fans. They still kind of dwell back in the 80s where it was the guys were bowling 34, 35, 36 weeks a year, and all the other things. These guys need to bowl to make money, and that's really, it wasn't the case back then because there were enough guys that didn't do the whole season. There's enough guys that did the winter tour, and that was it. And nowadays, where, yeah, it's a shorter season, you guys are pretty much 3 months and done, except for some single events here and there, like PBA League and the Lucy. So the opportunity for you guys to make some extra income outside the season has got to be pretty nice for you as well.
Yeah, definitely. There are always some tournaments to bowl. A lot of people don't realize that we bowl tournaments that don't have the PBA name associated with them in the off season. Or a lot of times we'll bowl regionals, which are PBA tournaments, but the prize funds aren't as substantial as the prize funds on our regular tour, the winter tour. So yeah, when we get those opportunities to do something else like that, it's always nice too. It supplements the income, like you said.
Yeah, you just won at Fire Lake a couple of weeks back, didn't you? Was that Fire Lake you won at, or?
No, that was in Edmond on the north side of Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Yeah. They had a regional there, and pretty exciting. I wasn't bowling as much, and so I wasn't really sure. I didn't have any expectations going in. I had taken some time off after the long 4 months that we have, and went into it just kind of trying to get my feel under me. And I actually had a slow start to the event, a couple of 180s, I think, the first 2 games of the event, and then I found my groove a little bit better, found something that clicked in my timing, and just kind of took the lead early and didn't look back until the stepladder, where pretty exciting stepladder with Sean Lavery-Spar, who's also been having a really good season. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets picked in the upcoming PBA League draft. He's been having a good season. 258 to 257 in that final match. Yeah, He finished first and packed all 3 in the 10th, and I had to match. I was 1 pin ahead, had to match, and fortunately I did it. It's always nice when that goes your way like that.
Well, every kid dreams of it when they're practicing, when they're young. Like, I got to step up to win this tournament. I got to have to get all 3 in the 10th and to actually get out there and do it. Just the euphoric feeling you must have after that happens. It's something that you can't experience unless you do it yourself.
It's great, yeah. Even, people say it's a regional, or even if it's just a regional, quote unquote. It's more so about winning. I mean, all of us that bowl on tour, we're first and foremost, we're competitors. So it doesn't matter if we're bowling for $100,000 or $2,500 or $3,000, or I could be bowling my friend for a quarter. I'm still going to want to beat him. Yeah. So first and foremost, we're competitors, and we always want to come through in those situations.
See, we put the pressure on. We told him he was going to be on camera, and the guy's just coming through like a PBA pro. He's not just a commissioner; he's a bowler as well. So
we've got the. Lacking a little confidence, but he's got 5 in a row to start this game.
It's gonna. The confidence is, it's gonna keep building. This is just one of those times now. It's like I wish I had, the good TV stuff. Throw a wireless microphone on him and an earpiece for when he's up there. Next 5 frames. Chat to him a little bit.
That would be nice.
So
you can always tell how well someone is bowling, and I'm sure you notice this a lot. If someone's walking around, Tom's just walked past in front of the live stream booth here. He wants us to see that he's got 5 in a row. That's what it is.
Yeah, let's keep our eyes on the prize here with Tom.
With the Game of Thrones themed, the Game of Bowling jersey that he has.
Yeah, they've come up with some pretty good jerseys over the years for his teams that go to USBC Nationals. I know they've had players like Sean Rash and Marshall Holman bowl with Tom, and now his son Rory is old enough to bowl USBC Nationals as well, so they've had some good stuff. That needs a lot of help. And the ever deadly 110.
You ever seen the 110 on a 5-bagger?
No.
He's asking if that's a common leave.
No, not on a 5-bagger, not ever.
Not ever, Tom. He did come up to us and say he was nervous. He didn't know what was going to happen. Doesn't feel good, he said.
Yeah, that one had a little extra grab on the bottom there.
Well, I can see that. He didn't feel good about it, and it certainly didn't look good from here either.
Oh. And the big open frame, and so. Yeah. That was a tug beyond tugs right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that's the camera's jinx. I think Tom jinxed himself. He came over and told us he wasn't feeling good and he was nervous, and he left the 110.
I had to do that because if I had taken it further and people came around to watch, then I did that, I'd never live it down.
So,
it's a preemptive miss.
And at least there wasn't a 5-7-10. I mean, I've seen that before. I've seen that here, actually. I bowled league in this center for a couple of decades. And, yeah, there was one night, a buddy of mine was on the front 7, and he 5-7-10.
That's rough.
And a week later, he didn't throw, he was on the lower end of the rev scale. I mean, but the 5-7-10s in 2 consecutive weeks was, especially the first one though, on that 7 or 8 bagger. But yeah, he was well into the game and he left the 5-7-10. Time going to the well, can't get it to go. Now we got him all shaken up. Now he's got the 5 bagger. I don't know. I was hoping the 5-pin would stand because I would love to see how many people would have done the old hand in the air kind of thing. I've been doing that all tournament. I've been doing it to people I don't even know. If they're close enough to the booth for me,
yeah,
I'll do anything for a free beer.
And do people pay up?
I have had nobody miss it yet in front of me. Yeah, everybody's been making them. So this is the one good thing for them is that everybody has been making them. Let's see. What else? Somebody, Tom Clark on fire in all caps. Well, somebody get the fire hose because that fire went out pretty quick. Nancy Strong, thanks for the great content. She enjoyed getting a chance to meet you in Delaware for the Rotholman doubles, and she hopes to get to meet you again soon. So, Frankie Aberlon watching from Portland, Maine, keeping an eye. I'm sure he's keeping an eye on all the bow pole folk bowling. And
Frankie Aberlon.
yeah, it'll be fun after we wrap up here tonight. Going to take the bow pole people that are here. We're going to make a little run down to Holler House, where they had the USA versus the World qualifier. You ever been there?
I've been.
Okay.
I haven't bowled there.
Okay.
I just went to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see Arturo is here with the Bopo crowd too. Arturo, who moved to Maine earlier this year.
Yeah, he is loving it. I got to speak to his wife, Lila, when I was out there in May, and you can just tell how much they enjoy it for the family. I mean, they love it there. And
said the winter was a bit cold for him. But other than that, they love it.
Got a front nine sighting. Let's get over there. My goodness, how do we? Speaking of Charlie Hungus, he'll be stepping up on the front nine. My goodness. Now I shouldn't say funny, but the ironic part about this for Charlie is at Bayside they don't put out typical house shots for their players. They put out patterns that are kind of tough, and for the summer patterns, they put out this pattern, the 42-foot LBC National Championships pattern. So Charlie's had some practice on this.
Sneaky. I like it.
I like it, yeah. And so have everybody else at Bayside, and even some of their summer off-season league and tournament action, same thing. They left that pattern out there. So pretty cool to see Hungus. Not the greatest start with 219, but you add that plus 100 to it, sitting at 519 for 2. I wonder if Tom Clark would root for Charlie to take one of the top 3 spots, because then that's less travel expenses the PBA has to pay.
Yeah.
Well, you're in Portland already.
Yeah.
Still got to pay for your airfare, hotel to get you out to the LBC finals.
Nice game there for Mallory on that pair too. Liz with a couple of strikes to finish out the game to be 3rd on the pair for this game.
Yeah. Mallory had a nice showing at the USBC Women's Championships. Yeah, Charlie Mitchell on the front nine. We're on him right now, waiting for him to come up, Tom. Mallory Clark, 798 in the USBC Women's Singles, taking 2nd place this year in that event. She's been hitting a lot of the PWBA events. I saw PBA Tour title Stephanie Zavala out here as well. She's up on the high end right now. She'll come down near us in the next game or two.
I think she bowled 270 the first game.
Now let's get a close-up here on Mallory's game.
Solid game.
Tell you what, you don't need a lot to get it done here on this LBC pattern. We've seen so many styles, from two-handers with 550 rev rates to seniors that, I mean, Lenny Borsch, he was taking revs off, keeping it online last weekend. And let's get to Hungus on the front nine here at the PBA LBC National Championships. Final squad of competition that needs some help. He needs it to push, and he gave up on it. And he gets the 10th one. And it goes to show this isn't a PBA Tour pattern these players are bowling on. Let's be honest here. But 5-1 isn't easy, and 5-1 isn't easy after you've had a bunch of play on it as well, because all of a sudden some of those zones can really go away and change, can't they, Frankie?
Yeah, definitely. The what's nice about this is there isn't typically, when you get a tournament like this where you've got a mix of women, handicap bowlers, scratch bowlers, most people are playing in a similar part of the lane, or they're not really changing the lanes that much. For those of you that are going to watch the squad tomorrow, you'll see a lot more rev rate with all the professionals that are on that squad. There'll be a lot more rev rate. The lanes will change a lot faster. Adjustments become a lot bigger and a lot quicker. In this case, it's very possible to find something and keep that look for a couple of games, even as you move through the house. So Charlie just got 8 here, 288 max with the spare.
But nice way to bring that opening game around. He'll be at over 500 after 2, and it's going to take about a 250 average to get into top 3 in the Open Classic division. And let's get back. We'll watch the remainder of Tom Clark's game here. We'll give Tom another moment in the sun, not just as PBA commissioner, but as a bowler. Somebody in the chat just typed in, my dad may have the record 5 7-10s in one game. His dad had 3 of them, according to Richard. Have you ever left one in competition?
A 5-7-10?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I want to say yes.
I've seen a couple players leave them over time. I saw Tommy Jones leave one.
Yep.
In Fire Lake.
I think Kyle Troop might have left one at the U.S. Open earlier this year.
Yeah.
It usually makes headlines when it happens. People
They'll center stops.
People take their phones out. And you're supposed to, unwritten rule, you're supposed to pose with the 5-7-10 that you just left.
Yeah, I did that. That was actually the last tournament I bowled before the pandemic. I started off at it was at the other Bolero-owned center in Milwaukee, AMF West. And first frame, first game, 5-7-10. And I promptly said that's the last tournament I'm bowling. I didn't know, I was just goofing around. Didn't know that was actually going to be the case thanks to the pandemic.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that was, it's one of those moments you remember your teammates never let you off the hook the rest of the day. So we'll let Tom finish. We'll take another little audio intermission here. Get those questions in for Frankie in the YouTube chat and the Facebook comments, and we'll keep asking Frankie questions. And game 3 is going to be coming up next. Oh. Tom, I was gonna holler at Tom and blow everybody's microphones out, his speakers out at home, but Tom caught it before he pulled. more player movement complete. We're into our third game of the 6 games of qualifying here at Bolero Wauwatosa. Everybody gets 6 games of qualifying. And you'll even see that tomorrow night during the Elite Pro Squad that the gentleman to my left here in the booth will be bowling. François Lavoie and Frankie. You getting any more ideas about what the first ball of the bag might be tomorrow night after watching everybody here?
Yeah, I'm thinking about going to the trusty phase 2. That's been the first ball out of the bag for a couple of years, and I think it's not going to be any different tomorrow. She's earned the right to a couple of shots.
Chris Prather said the same thing last night. Said the phase 2 would be the first one out of the bag for him when Chris was here. Yeah, so
yeah, the phase 2, or maybe I brought with me the new Summit by Storm. Might give that one a look too. I've been impressed with that one.
It's one of those balls with the phase 2 where everybody's going. They hope they keep manufacturing it. They don't stop that line at all, especially because now for you guys on the PBA Tour, it has to be made after August 1st, 2022, and the phase 2 has been out for several years now.
Yeah,
so you guys will just need to make sure those balls are, well, you guys throw pretty fresh covers all the time as it is. It's not like you're sitting in the same phase 2 from pre-pandemic.
Right.
Or are you actually? You know, we used to see West Millot all the time. You'd see that same gold IQ Tour that had the blue oil on it. West never let that out of his sight.
Yeah, every once in a while we'll keep a ball for a while if it really rolls well and we keep throwing it and it keeps striking. But for the most part, we tend to go to fresher covers just because they carry better. And for as much as we bowl, I mean, people have to realize too, for a league bowler that bowls once a week to bowl 100 games with their ball, it's going to take them several months. For us to bowl 100 games, that could take us 2 weeks. So we tend to drill balls a lot more frequently than your average league bowler would.
So let's take a peek in here. We saw Charlie Mitchell front 10 last game. Not so much success this game, and I thought Charlie knew guys that it could keep him off of 49-50, but it's one of the pairs in this house. I mean, there's pairs all across this house where you've had enough experience here, Frankie, with the World Series of Bowling and such, where you go, I just don't want to catch that pair at this point in time, too late in the block or too early in the block or whatever it might be. And
yeah,
that seems to be one of those pairs that's pretty common for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But then we saw Farrell Williams in here last week who saw that pair and he goes, I've hit that pair often enough, I know what to do. And Farrell blasted 258 on it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and Farrell throws it so far over the front part of the lane, he doesn't see how much it hooks.
Yeah, Farrell with a 300 as well in the last. Farrell's one of those guys where he wishes he could have about 3 shots back. And it's probably the difference between him being in the top 3 and getting to whatever total he may have had. 14 and it was a decent sized 1400.
Yeah. I remember seeing some highlights of Farrell.
Yeah.
I know he bowled well. Don't know the exact score.
That's a guy you used to get some battles with down in the Southwest region, and now he's living in Maryland.
Yep.
So relocated for his wife's employment. So now everybody on the East Coast has got to deal with Farrell.
Yeah, he's been good for a long time. Team USA member.
Yeah.
Coaches, he's another one who does some coaching on the side too. He's I don't know if he still is. He was coaching Team Bermuda at the World Championships last year. You see guys do that sometimes when they step away from full-time bowling. A lot of times they'll pick up a coaching job. Fran Lowe is another one who did that.
Yeah, he was coaching United Arab Emirates, I believe.
He was coaching. He was the assistant coach in Kuwait.
Kuwait, okay.
And he did that for 2 or 3 years, I believe, and now he's the assistant coach in Hong Kong. So past PBA bowler turned international coach.
Yeah, Mika Koivuniemen as well is another one. He was one of the first, I remember, to take the once he came off the tour.
Mika was with the UAE. I believe his contract just ended.
Okay.
Fran, assistant coach in Hong Kong, works under Bill Hoffman, who's a pretty good bowler back in his day.
Yeah, Bill's been doing a lot of coaching in Southeast Asia for decades.
Yeah.
I ran into him a few years back. He came in to watch the DHC Japan Invitational the year that Don Barrett won in 2018. And yeah, I hadn't seen Bill in person in probably 15 years before that. So it was good to catch up with him for a little bit. As we're walking the streets of Tokyo at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. So we're the only people out there.
Yeah.
Kind of a surreal setting. Well, taking a peek around. Not a lot of strikes in front of us here in the booth, but see up on 55 and 6, we got a player with a front bunch. We'll get to them as soon as we can here. We got to make a little adjustment. So we'll stick with see how Liz keeps playing the lanes here. So Liz, I know she's going to be a force with whoever she bowls with at the Lucy, the Striking Against Breast Cancer Mixed Doubles, coming up in a couple of weeks down in Houston. Who's your partner this year?
This year I'm bowling with Giselle Paz. I normally bowl with Tanya Rummenper from Indonesia.
Yeah.
But I believe this year she has a championship back home that she has to travel to. So she's unavailable. And of course in that tournament it's pretty hard to find a partner last minute if you don't have one already. So I put some feelers out there. I talked to Sean Ryan, who's our ball rep on the PBA Tour. He also ball reps on the women's tour. So I told him to keep an eye out, and he said that Giselle didn't have a partner and was interested in bowling. So we reached out, and that's who I'm bowling with this year.
Yeah, Giselle bowled here last weekend at the LBC National Championships, so it was good to see her here. She's originally from the Chicagoland area.
She might have the high rev rate on our team. Down at the Lucy.
It's such an incredibly fun event to just be a part of, let alone, I can't imagine what it's like bowling it with all the distractions and stuff that are going on. And
the Pro-Am is crazy. The Pro-Ams, I should say, they run one on Friday and one on Saturday. There's a lot of people in there. You can hardly walk. That's throughout the tournament, but especially on Pro-Am nights. Lots of people, lots of bowling bags everywhere. Makes for a fun environment.
Yeah, lots of raffle prizes. They raise
tons of raffles.
So much money every year for the Striking Against Breast Cancer Fund, and yeah, Donna Connors and Carol Norman and everybody that's helped them out for decades. They got to be approaching 30 years on that event.
Yeah, I would think
close.
so. They do a great job. Started out as just a sort of a local event, and it's grown to what it is now. PBA title, includes the PBA and the PWBA.
It kind of seems that way, that there's certain areas of the country where things start to spring up and they kind of grow and drag more people in from the outside. And there's a lot of tournaments in this, what would be considered the PBA Southwest region that are that way, with the Lucy, and then a great tournament that is getting more and more attention every year in January is the Snowball Doubles at Fire Lake, and all the bizarre lane patterns that Chris Skillings comes up with that.
Hand-oiled lanes, yeah.
Once a day, hand-oiled. The guys were just chucking it straight at the pocket last year, looked like, because the pattern was so long.
Yeah. Yeah, Stu and I have had some success in that tournament. We didn't bowl it last year, but 3 years ago we finished second, and then we won the next year.
Trying to see what we got here for. Anybody else got some big scores going on? We got somebody making a run at the women's handicap division. Let's get in down here. It's early. Tracy Fakes, she's a local player here in the Milwaukee area. She's had some success in a lot of amateur events. She's one of those players that, coming out of college, I always thought she'd maybe take a shot at the PBA Tour, and she just never really had the time to do it. She's got a solid career and everything. Wow, another strike for Fakes. And looking at the women's handicap division, it's only 14-20 leading, and she's going to be sitting. She had 490 with her handicap after two, so she could be sitting around 770, 780 with her handicap after 3 games.
Which puts her well above the pace.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So there could be somebody you might be doing an interview with at the end of the event. what a way to lock it up. Bowl the last squad of the tournament and win a championship, make your way to Portland, Maine, and be a part of that insanity? Holy cow. That would be pretty good for a young player like Tracy Fakes. And
so how many people make it to Portland, Maine? You got 12 total.
12 altogether.
Is
So
it 3 from the open division, 3 from the women's division, and 3 from the, is it seniors?
Nope, just one each from the senior classic, women's handicap, and men's handicap, and then 3 of you coming on to tomorrow night's.
3 of the pros, that's right.
3 of the pros come out, and that's $100,000 in money on that FS1 show, including $60,000 to the winner. So, yeah, you think the guys are just showing up for 6 games tomorrow night and taking it as a league sweeper kind of thing? Not the case. Everybody that's walking in that door tomorrow night knows how much money's on the line in Portland when you guys are there. I mean, 60 grand for throwing, probably 12 shots, because it's going to be that eliminator format, the single ball eliminator.
Yeah.
And not too many tournaments you can win $60,000 in 12 shots.
Yep.
And just surviving the field, getting by. And have you been involved in a lot of those with the PBA where it's a single ball eliminator? What is the mentality different when you step on the lane, or no? It's just what you would normally do for every other time on a TV appearance.
I think at the end of the day, it's hard to say it's the same, because obviously it's not. You're only throwing 1 shot, so you have to get lined up. You always hear guys in interviews. They always say how fast it goes when you're on TV, and how you have to make a quick decision and you have to commit. Well, that's still true, but even more so, because all you get is 1 shot.
Yeah.
All 12 competitors are going to throw 1 shot. Low person is out. You really have to. As far as it goes for me, I would try to first find a way to hit the pocket. Now, on something like this, it might not be as difficult as, say, on a U.S. Open pattern, but
right.
Just try to make the decision that'll get you the best chance of striking, and then it's all about execution. You've got to be able to perform under pressure. For a lot of these people, it'll be probably their first time bowling on TV. That's going to bring a lot of pressure. It'll be interesting to see how all those competitors that qualify fare on TV at Bayside Bowl, because not only are they bowling on TV, they're bowling at Bayside Bowl, where the lobster is flowing, where the fans are crazy, where they're going to be yelling in your backswing. There's going to be people on the lanes while you're bowling. You're not used to that. If you're just a league bowler, for example, you've got people behind you all the time, but you never have people on the lane in front of you looking straight at you. That's
people
above
different. And behind you with the mezzanine there at Bayside, which is pretty unique to bowling as well.
It can be pretty daunting.
So Liz Johnson just finished up her first 3 games. So Liz is at 739. So she's got an outside chance to maybe win this thing. She's going to need a big set. But once again, 3rd for the women in that classic division to make that TV show, I believe, is 1420 and change. 1424.
Kayla Pashina.
Yeah, and she had 300 in that set. That's the only 300 we've had from a woman so far during this PBA LBC National Championships. It's fun to watch Kayla's reaction to when she put that 12th one down. So we're going to take a little breather. Please, fans, get those questions in there. We've got some people asking about different oil patterns, how people might play them. Ask away. You got Frankie in here for a couple more games. And we'll be back with Game 4 here for this final squad of the 2023 PBA LBC National Championships coming up next. halfway through this final round of the PBA LBC National Championship, final squad of qualifying. Coming to you from Bolero Wauwatosa. Of course, that's just for the regular Joes like you and I, and regular Janes, like my wife and her friends. The big time, the Elite Pro Squad tomorrow night. Coming up at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. here inside of Bolero Wauwatosa. You'll see some great PBA Tour stars on that squad, such as E.J. Tackett and so many others, including the man sitting with me in the booth, François Lavoie. Watching you do a video with Neil Sturm earlier today, and I don't understand why Neil had so many problems getting your name to flow. It rhymes, François Lavoie.
Yeah, I don't know.
He was thinking about it too much or something. He's a thoughtful guy. I mean, when you're the head of rules and equipment, you know you're a thinking human being.
He is, and he's a perfectionist, so he was probably trying to say it perfectly.
I don't think there aren't too many professional bowlers, PBA bowlers, that aren't perfectionists in one form or another.
That's true.
So let's take a peek at the YouTube questions. And oh, yikes. Somebody in the chat, string pins are the superior game. I don't know about that. I mean, string pins have their place in bowling nowadays, especially with smaller centers, maybe rural areas where they don't have mechanics that can tear apart a Brunswick A2 machine like they have here at Bolero, or an 8270 machine like they might have at Thunderbolt in Detroit. But string pins being the superior game, it definitely is a superior thing for the proprietors that have them, because they have less maintenance costs, they have less overhead, the machines are a little cheaper to install. Have you bowled on any string pins at all so far, Frankie? And your thoughts on that?
I've only practiced on a string pin lane, and that was at home in Montreal. Buffa Bowling, who's the distributor for all of Canada for most of what's bowling related, they have one lane in their headquarters there, and it's a string pin lane. So I've only practiced a few times on that lane. I haven't bowled any tournaments on it. I know, I think there are a lot of people that are smarter than me that are hard at work trying to figure out how they can get string pins and string machines to be a little bit closer to free fall.
Okay.
There's a lot of people working on that. I think there's something with the length of the strings and the material of the strings. There's definitely different people that are trying to make that so people will stop whining about the differences.
Yeah, that really lit up the chat. I mean, people going back about string pins and such that bowled on them. Some people saying for the shoe rental and bumper crowd, string pins might be superior, but
I do think that in that sense, from a proprietor standpoint, if you're going to have like an FEC type center where you're having some lanes, but also like an arcade, and it's more family fun, then that's perfectly fine, and you don't need to pay that mechanic, that highly specialized mechanic that knows all about A2s or GSXs and stuff. And, at the competitive level, I think there's still some work to be done. Kind of what I said earlier, that there's it needs to get better in ways like, if you wrap 10, is the string going to make the 10 pin fall down? If you shoot a 210 and you wrap the 2 around the 10, is the string going to make the pin go down? So just little things like that, where at the competitive level, you need to have that be a little bit closer to free fall.
I've had a question in the chat. Somebody asking how do you attack playing longer oil patterns? They have to face the Big Ben oil pattern that's 44 feet long in an upcoming tournament. So when you see patterns are longer, 44, 45, 46 feet, What are you looking for when you hit the lanes for the first few shots of practice, let's say?
Typically, as a general rule of thumb, and that's important to say rule of thumb because every pattern plays differently and every time you lay it down in a different bowling center. But as a rule of thumb, longer patterns, you keep everything closer to the head pin. And what I mean by that is I'm probably not going to play first or second arrow. The longer pattern means there's a lot more oil on the lane, or there's oil for a longer distance on the lane, which means there's less dry on the lane for your ball to actually hook. And so for that reason, you try to keep your break point closer to the head pin, maybe in front of the 3-pin or in front of the 3-6, but you definitely don't want to swing the ball out too wide because there's not enough dry at the end of the lane for your ball to recover. The opposite of that would be on a short pattern. You want your ball to be closer to the gutter because there's so much dry to play with after the pattern. So typically stronger balls, a big misconception a lot of times is people will hit their ball with a lot of surface to play a long pattern because they think there's so much oil and the ball's not going to hook.
Okay.
But actually, a lot of times the long patterns have a very similar amount of total oil as a short pattern would. It's just spread out over longer. So you're actually seeing less oil in the front part of the lane on a long pattern than you would a short pattern. So using more surface can have the adverse effect of making your ball burn up and roll out, and that's not really what you want. You want your ball to store energy and have enough energy to hook when it gets to the end of the pattern. So closer to the pocket, stronger balls, yes, but not necessarily a lot of surface on them.
All right. Jeremy Mueller asking, do we have to buy tickets to come watch Frankie and the rest of the elite players tomorrow? No, free admission here at Bolero Wauwatosa. Jam the house. You're anywhere within a couple of hours of Bolero Wauwatosa. Take the drive, because it's the last time you're going to see a lot of these players here in the Midwest for the rest of 2023. All the rest of the big events coming up are going to be obviously with the Lucy doubles, and that's in Texas, and then out east with the PBA Elite League presented by Pabst Blue Ribbon.
I expect a good turnout tomorrow.
Yep.
I think a decent amount of people will come and watch us bowl. The turnout is pretty good usually when we're here for the World Series. They've got some good crowds. Free entry fee, even better. If somebody tries to charge you, tell them Phil sent you.
Especially if they try to charge you $2 at the door, then you know that's
Yeah.
I got something to do with it. You ever watch a show Impractical Jokers?
Yep.
So you saw the episode where they did that to Q. They made him collect a door charge and then have to give it back to everybody in quarters.
Yeah.
I always thought that somebody could tie in Impractical Jokers into something, or at least the punishment into like something bowling related. And I know Storm did that for a while because they had the hot pepper challenge or the hot sauce challenge where if you didn't convert a split or something, they had that on their social media as well. So I've seen some bets before. I remember a bet in a couples league I bowled in years ago. Two guys bet, and then the following league session, one guy had to come in and bowl in a tank top and mini skirt combination. That was not pretty. That was asked to never be bet again between those players.
There have been some pretty good bets on the PBA Tour before. Some bets. Chris Barnes and Mika Koivuniemi had one where the winner got to design the jersey for the other player the next time they were on TV, and that was pretty good.
Yeah, there was a pants bet. There was a jersey bet. They've had some good stuff between Barnes and Mika over the years. I was wondering with some of the ones like the house bets internally with the house.
I'm sure they have some internal bets. Yeah, there's definitely some internal bets going on. A lot of the time, you get a group of friends together, and they maybe sometimes force you to do something you don't want to do.
Yeah, usually it's like a food bet or something. Eat dinner, eat some food that
a
you
food
would
bet
never
or
have.
a food bet or a drink bet. Yeah, I've lost a couple of those to Tommy Jones. He's a pretty well-known hustler out here.
I found the one place I could probably bowl Tommy Jones and have a shot of beating him in a 3-game series, and that's at Holler House.
At Holler House?
At Holler House. I think I could get him in a 3-game series there. After watching what it was only one game, obviously, with the USA versus the World roll-off, but I was front and center for that, and I thought to myself, I don't think I'd have a chance against Belmo in 3 games, but I definitely would have a chance against Tommy.
And he would love to have you think that.
Yeah. I'm also playing on the other side of the lane for him, too, which kind of helps there a little bit.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but enough. So, and I've had some house experience bowling at Holler House before, so a little local knowledge can go a long way. So he played lane 1 all wrong. He should have played lane 1. He should have just hugged that wall and just kind of played the old fallback shot into the 1-2 there, or 1-3 there. He was trying to loft the heads, and the old fallback always seems to work well in lane 1 at Holler House. I don't know why. Watching my right-hander friends that bowl there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always a blast bowling at little places like that, little out-of-the-way places there. But those are getting, they're easier to find in Wisconsin, but they're getting harder to find everywhere else because most of the places you see nowadays, they're at least 16 lanes, if not more. We're even here in the Milwaukee area, there's still a few 12-lane and 8-lane centers as Stephanie Zavala, PWBA pro, takes down. Another strike for a double. She's having an okay day so far. She could be sitting, if she strikes out, she could be sitting close to 960 for 4, so she would need a couple of big games to get into the top 3 to try to make that run to Portland for the LBC National Championships shootout. So, Scotty Thompson in the chat asking 2 questions. First of all, your opinion on the Storm Pitch Black. Is it one of your favorites? And if it is not, what is your favorite Storm ball of all time?
The Pitch Black is my favorite urethane ball that Storm makes for sure. I've been using it for many, many years, and other urethane balls have come and gone in that time, and I still use the Pitch Black. I really like it as far as urethane balls go. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's my favorite, period. I think the Phase 2 definitely comes to mind when I think of a favorite ball. The Alpha Crux is one that I used a lot a couple of years ago. I had a lot of success with that one. IQ Tour is another one.
I have to catch up on my equipment again. I really haven't done much bowling since the pandemic. Didn't do any during the pandemic. Family and that type of thing. They came first, so kind of retired the stuff. One of these days, I'll actually have to drill up some new stuff and actually hit the lanes more. Last time I bowled was on string pins at Parker Bones training facility out in New Jersey, with those demo balls. So, and tennis shoes. I just had to see how string pins fell for myself. He's got a 5-lane facility with rev rates, and the first 4 lanes are GSX pin setters, free fall. But then the 5th lane is string pins. And I asked Parker, why did you go with string pins? He goes, just in case in the future that really becomes something. That way we know how they fall, we know how they react.
Yep.
As Zavala takes one harshly with the solid 9. Yeah, so he goes, so we put in string pins on the other one. And it was pretty neat because even on the GSX pin setters with rev rates, if you want to set up certain spares and practice on them, you could do that. And it was pretty neat otherwise. Neil Stremmel caused DJ Neon White causing problems in the concourse again. So he's another one of these guys that's the most popular here. I mean, I know some people know him. He's talking to everybody. Like, everybody comes up to him and starts talking to him. On every squad, he's talking to 5, 6, 7 people. I never knew Neil Stremmel was that popular of a human being. That's like the biggest shock I've had in the entire LBC National Championships.
Pretty good with the announcements, too.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. DJ Neon White, every tournament should kick off with DJ Neon White. You should when Mike Jakubowski can't make it on tour for the TV shows, they should put you in that chair. You're probably there anyway. There you go.
He's available.
He's available.
I didn't know if we were starting the PBA LBC or if we were at a boxing match.
Yeah. Well, I've come to some bowling meets and seen some boxing matches break out.
Bowling meets that turn into boxing matches?
Yeah, I've seen a few. Well, mostly those happen in the parking lot once it's done. I've seen a few of those in time. So, yes, indeed. Somebody's asking questions, but unfortunately it's in Korean, and YouTube doesn't translate well. So I wish I could answer your question, those of you watching. Worldwide audience, so tuning in to watch the PBA LBC and get a chance to ask questions to Frankie Lavoie. So we're going to take a little audio intermission once again. Some of the pacing's getting a little bit broken up here. So we're going to let some of the pacing get back together and give you guys a chance to ask more questions in the YouTube chat and in the Facebook chat. And if you can get those out there, we'd appreciate it. 2 more games remaining on this squad. Now we got some players finishing up game 4, some players starting game 5. With player movement. Trying to see if we had any big scores in game 4, any players we need to really follow at this point in time. That are making runs for division leads. I've only seen one so far, and that's, we mentioned her earlier, Tracy Fakes for the women's handicap division. She's sitting at 960 after 4. So she did another 460. And yeah, there's another one too that's got a good run going on the pair that we're on now. Caden Stork in the men's handicap division. He's got a little more work to go. Stork, he's getting a few more pins a game. He's coming in at a 165 average. 745 scratch for his first 4, so not too shabby there at a 165 average. About 80 or 90 pins over, so you can throw a couple of pretty decent games here. And maybe make himself get into that top spot. And that's an. Is that a 5-pin? Did I miss? Do I get? No, it's a 2-pin. Shoot, I was hoping to get my hand up. I'm $2 Phil Brylow, sitting with me in the booth, François Lavoie. No, somebody's translating in the YouTube chat for us for the Korean script that's in there right now.
Oh, that's very nice.
Advice on ball release for getting hook on the ball. They weren't questions. So apparently somebody thinks you don't hook the ball enough, Frankie, and they were trying to
give me
give
advice.
you advice.
Oh.
I don't know. I mean, I know I could use that advice. I've never been known to take the scenic route to the pocket in my playing days. So, Scotty Thompson asking something kind of a, it's always a rough question to ask. Your lowest professional bowling score?
My worst professional bowling score?
Yes.
I don't know. There's not a crazy score that comes to mind, so I'm going to say probably something in the 140s.
Okay.
Because that's not too uncommon. And I feel like if I had bowled something in the 130s or below, I think that would have left a mark, I think, and I would remember.
Yeah. My short-lived regional career, there was a 121 game in there. So
yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, that's one of those ones where you go, where you're coming off bowling a lot more when you're younger, and you go, this is 20 years ago. And you change jobs all of a sudden. Hey, I got more free times on my hands. I can practice. I can get even better. I'm averaging 230 in league. Yeah, that's not the way to do it. No.
Yeah.
Once I started bowling once sport leagues came around and we started bowling on sport conditions, once the USBC developed that was a lot more of a game changer than to get me better than thinking, I'm making my spares, I'm averaging 230, I'm doing that. No, PBA, even at the regional level, it's an entirely different ball game than what you see in a lot of your local tournaments and such. So it wasn't the first game of the regional, it was the third game, but the 121 was definitely the one to give you the wake-up call.
That's 89 under in a hurry.
So
79 under.
Hey, here's a surprise. A leader of a division in this tournament watching the YouTube stream to make sure he holds on. Trey Heinrichsmeyer keeping an eye on things right now. Hey, Trey, how's it going?
15-28.
With the last 22 in a row. Not too shabby.
It's pretty good.
For 17,
That's pretty impressive.
So, boy, that kid's going to get out to Bayside. And he's either going to be a fan favorite or they're going to get him for being a kid. You know?
I imagine they're going to love him.
Yeah. Or what's a 17-year-old kid doing here? So I'm sure they'll have fun with him, no doubt about that.
I'm sure he's going to have fun there.
So we've got Trey keeping an eye on things. Somebody in the chat asking, how many games can you get? I'm assuming this means life of a bowling ball. How many games do you get out of the life of your bowling ball? They changed the ball after they say 60 games. 60 games where you know it's totally different than when you buy it out of the box. I mean, you guys do a lot of surface prep though and stuff in your equipment compared to a lot of league bowlers.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, a big difference is I would say the professionals do a lot more surface adjustments to the balls. Maybe not as much maintenance on the balls. And league bowlers tend to do a lot more maintenance. I just mean like cleaning it after they're done bowling, or either before or after or both. I think league bowlers do a lot more of that. But the life of a ball, that's a tough one. It really depends who you talk to. I think for us, I mean, you'll have guys like Dom and Osku, they'll use some balls just for a handful of games and then move on to another one. When I was younger, before I came out on tour, I didn't really have the balls I used were the balls I had. I didn't pick Arsenals or anything like that, so those balls had hundreds of games on them and they still did okay. So I think if you're a league bowler that's taking good care of your equipment, you can prolong the lifespan of that ball for sure to a couple hundred games, definitely. Otherwise, yeah, I think I've heard like 60 games. That doesn't feel like a lot. I think if you clean it every once in a while, you can definitely get more than 60 out of a bowling ball.
Still remember one of the best extra frame asks we did back in the day was, how often do you clean your balls? And the reaction we got from some of the players, looking on camera like, can you ask that? Are we talking in the shower? It was one of the best extra frame asks we've ever done. So, and I think one of the best pressing questions this year was the one with Kimberly and Santu, because I think did you just kind of walk away from that one and decide you didn't want to really try to spell out Santu's last name?
Oh, his last name? No,
Yeah.
I said it right.
You did say it. That's right.
Yeah,
you said it right.
Yeah,
Somebody else.
I watch a lot of hockey, and I grew up around hockey, so the Finnish names aren't really that hard. Once you kind of get the idea. You know how they have a similar structure. So, Tavanainen.
I still remember Chris Prather's answer. Uncultured American here? Nope, not even trying. So let's see. Another question following up about ball surface and such. Do you resurface equipment after a certain amount of games? Or are you more of a clean and surface after every
I think just constant surface changes more so than a complete resurface. And then I'm in a situation, and most pros are in a situation where we have access to a lot of bowling balls, so we don't really mess around with a total resurfacing of the bowling ball. We just get a new one. So I'm fortunate in that sense, but we do make a lot of surface adjustments throughout the life of a bowling ball until eventually we leave a couple of flat 10s and we decide that one's done.
Yep. All right, I'm gonna change up a question a little bit here, because now with the new PBA rule starting January 6th of next year, your ball's going to have to be manufactured after August 1st, 2022 for you to use it on the PBA Tour. So what's the one Storm, Rotogrip, Niner Global ball that you're glad is still in the line that's been manufactured for a bunch of years? And the second one would be, what one would you like to see them bring back and start manufacturing again, so you wouldn't have to find like one down in your closet somewhere you may have been saving for a few years?
Yeah, good question. The Phase 2 and the IQ Tour, I'm really glad that they're still making it, and I hope that they continue to make it for years to come. The ones that I'm sad to see go, probably the original Idol. The original Idol and the Alpha Crux I still use from time to time. That one's getting to be pretty old now. I think those two. I don't necessarily use too many discontinued balls anyway, but those two, the original Idol, I think a lot of guys will be sad that they won't be able to use it anymore. And as long as they keep making Phase 2s, I think we'll be in good shape.
Yep. Well, that High Road, I mean, it's been, 13, 14 years to that High Road.
Yeah, so the three of those, the High Road, the High Road's the oldest. I think the IQ Tour came out a little before the Phase 2, so that's probably 10 years or so, and then the Phase 2 is a little bit after the IQ Tour, but that's still been around for probably 7 or 8 years. And that's just me making up dates off the top of my head. I don't know when they came out. It's good to see the questions in the chat.
Yeah, keep asking Frankie.
Lots of people from all over. Tell us where you're watching from.
Here's one from Malaysia. Mudakin Arif. Hopefully I didn't mess your name up too bad. Huge fan of yours from Malaysia, and asking, do you specifically match up balls to specific oil patterns, or is it more of a comfort factor for you after you start competition? So, do you load up your bag knowing, if you're bowling sharp, is what's in your bag what you think you're going to be seeing?
Yeah, I think I go with types of balls. No matter what I bowl on, I always try to have an arsenal that's complete and that will allow me to bowl on just about any condition that I could face. Because we travel so much, and we know if we put shark down in this bowling center and we go to Oklahoma and put shark down, and we go to Lubbock, Texas and put shark down, they're going to play completely differently. So no matter what pattern I bowl on, I try to make sure that my arsenal is always complete. But I do try to, I'll lean a little bit on one side. So if I'm bowling on a long pattern, I'm probably not going to have too many hustles and low end balls, tropical storms, things like that. And on the other side of that, if I'm bowling on a short pattern, I'll have some urethane options. So yeah, full arsenal, but also a little bit leaning on the side of the pattern I'm bowling in. And then once we get started, like they said, it's just about comfort, finding good ball motion, and manipulating that.
Scotty Thompson asking, do you use interchangeable thumbs?
I do. I just switched to them this year. For the longest time, I used molds because they just felt good to me, and I had a thumb that I had worked out by hand for so long, it was kind of hard to replicate it on a drill press, just because of all the intricacies of how the beveling and all that stuff, and that one felt comfortable. So I ended up molding that thumb, and that's what I would use from ball to ball. So I had a mold of my thumb in every single ball. And then earlier this year, in between, after the Jackson stop, we bowled in Jackson, Michigan, and it was like 3 stops in a row that I didn't bowl very well. Well, I was happy with the shots I was throwing, and I was happy with how I was bowling, but I finished in the bottom 10 or 45th to 50th every week. So I thought I need to change something. So I changed my fit, worked with Sean Ryan, our ball rep, John Sullivan on the truck, and Dom Barrett. 3 guys that are pretty knowledgeable about that stuff. They helped me try to figure something out, and got some practice in after the last squad when I was eliminated. Felt pretty good and came off my hand pretty good, so I decided to stick to it and commit and make that fit change. So I left the 20-odd balls I had with me. I left them in Michigan, gave them to the pro shop guy there for the high schools, and do whatever he wants with them, and drilled up 9 new balls for the TOC, and I made the show that first week.
Beautiful.
So, but that was one of the changes I made. I did switch to switch grips. I'm with Turbo, so I use the switch grips. And part of the reason for that was when I didn't know we were gonna find a ball that fit that well that quickly.
Okay.
So in case I needed to drill a bunch of different thumbs, it was easier to just have one ball that I could drill different thumbs in, rather than drilling a new ball every time with a different oval angle or bevel and all that stuff. So I liked it, and now I use the switch grips.
When you were making the mold of the thumb insert, were you doing like a bunch of those at home first and then taking them on the road with you? Because that's got to be really hard to make on the road.
It is kind of tricky to make on the road, and it was one of the things that I liked the least about the molds. It was really nice because they still all felt the same, even though I didn't take the same actual thumb from ball to ball. They still felt the same, but I had to tape up every thumb hole in every single ball, and we drill a lot of balls on tour. And I had to pre-make all those molds ahead of time. So if I know I'm going to the World Series, there's a chance if I make it all the way, if I make a lot of cuts, I'm going to bowl a lot of games. So I'd bring 12 to 15 molds with me, maybe even more, depending on how many balls I think I'm going to have to drill. So it was a lot of prep work. It was a lot of hassle to do before heading to a tournament. Now it's not so bad. I just need to carry some outers and put those into the ball, and I've already got the thumb that goes into it.
So Stephanie Zavala, she's making a nice run now. She was at 9:26 after 4, and she's got the front 5 here in game 5. So we'll stick with Zavala as she continues to make that big run towards the finish, try to get herself in the top 3 and make her way to Portland. She has to get by 14:24. So with 9:26 on there, she's pretty much got to go 250, 250, and then they'll get her past. Of course, going 300 and 200 works the same way, so if she can keep stringing them out here, she can make that run towards Portland. To Sardu in the chat, François, am I the only one smart enough to choose you to be on my 4-person team? I'm assuming it's somebody that signed up a 4-person team for this PBA LBC National Championships, because before the first person on a team, whether it be doubles team or a 4-person team, bowled, if they signed up for doubles or 4-person, you could bowl with anybody else in the tournament that hadn't bowled yet. So obviously with you not bowling to tomorrow night, I'm sure there's probably some players that bowled the tournament that picked you to bowl as their doubles partner. It sounds like at least one player picked you for the 4-person team.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I'm grateful for that. I don't know, actually. I know of a few people that signed up to bowl the doubles with me, but there's also a lot of people that probably decided to bowl that we don't know each other, and that's one of the cool things about this tournament is you can pair your score up with any of the pro bowlers or anyone for that matter that's bowling in the tournament. So I do know of a handful of people that decided to sign up for doubles. I don't know of anybody that signed up with me in the team event, but now I guess we've got one person for sure.
Yeah.
At least one.
And of course, for those of you wondering how you can bowl doubles and team in a singles event, well, it's easy. It's 6 games here, so your first 3 games count towards a doubles score, and then your second 3 games count towards a team score, 4-player team score. And it's interesting because we've had some teams bowl, honestly, on 3 or 4 separate weekends. A prime example of that, John Fury, part-time PBA Tour player. Fury got here first, signed up his team. Didn't have a good first 3-game set with mid-600s, but fired 8-11 for his last 3 games. So he had a really good start for his team. And it was himself, Joey Pants, Mike Zanke from Delaware that helped out at Mid-County Lanes for the Rotholman doubles there, and Ryan Schaefer from the PBA 50 Tour. And they put up a plus 450 or something like that for their 4 players. So pretty good there for that team event. And it's just neat because they came in on 3 different weekends to bowl. So it's nice that you don't have to, have everybody there at the same time. Weekends are always busy. Life gets in the way, and a lot of people have other family vacations and stuff scheduled. Well, this way, you can still bowl a great tournament, get in and out in a day if you're close by. How about that for Zavala? Yikes. Touch it and don't knock it over for the 3-pin. Yeah, but it's great that you can just get in, get out, you get your 6 games, you get all these multiple events that if you want to be a part of, you can. And hey, looking forward to having everybody back in the 2024 edition. And I'm sure they'll won't waste any time making that announcement when they're going to get ready to start taking entries for that event.
Yeah.
Of course, being a PBA LBC league member. That's one thing that's a misnomer. Everybody thinks, well, I have to be at a Bolero Center or an AMF Center or a Bullmore Center to be part of the PBA LBC program. You don't. Any bowling center can be a part of that if they contact Bolero and say, hey, I want my center to be LBC certified. Bayside Bowl, all of their leagues there, none of them are USBC certified. They're all PBA LBC certified, however. And you can have both. You don't have to be one or the other. You can have both. You can get your USBC awards if you've never won a 300 ring from the USBC and you finally get one, great. But then you can also get your digital awards and other awards from the PBA LBC program as well. So if your bowling center's been thinking about it, have them be part of the LBC. Have them get in on it. Have them contact Bolero. There's information right on the PBA website, pba.com/LBC tournament, and you can get all the LBC information you need. And even pro bowlers can take advantage of a crossover once in a while after a bad break. Zavala goes to the well there. You ever have a crossover win you a match? Like a late crossover in your professional career or no?
Late Brooklyn to win a match?
Yeah.
I'm sure I have.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Bowlers tend to remember the bad breaks, not the good ones. At the end of the block, you'll hear a lot of bowlers at the end of a block say, "Oh, I was so unlucky this block," and then you've got someone that bowled on their pair or someone that bowled next to them say, "Yeah, they went Brooklyn 4 times for a strike. What are they talking about? They were unlucky." Well, that's because they don't remember those 4 Brooklyns. They just remember the 9-pin and the wrap 10 and the blower 7.
So I just got an update. Liz Johnson sitting at 12:49 after game 5. So she needs to get to 15:22. So she's going to need a big score, but it's possible. The thing is, she only needs a game in about the 180s to get the top 3 in the women's scratch. I haven't seen a CDB update, unfortunately, yet. And Zavala needs a bunch. She had a rough start. Steph, don't count her out yet, though. So, I mean, she can still get to 1,200 for 5 after this game and still have a chance as well. So we have a couple players in the women's scratch division make their way in. So we'll figure out where Liz is the last game, and we'll make sure we keep an eye on her. And another player to keep an eye on, we'll see her 10th frame shortly. We mentioned in the women's handicap division, Tracy Fakes, local player here out of Milwaukee. Fakes working on a 5-bagger going into the 10th frame. And And she was definitely on pace.
14:20 the score to beat in the women's handicap.
She's sitting, she could get to 11:51, or pardon me, I need to see the score there. Yeah, she can actually get to 11:80 after 5. Depending on how she finishes here. We'll get an eye on that full score in a second. We'll take a peek in. See if she hits the. You'll see fakes come into your left side of your picture on 33. I think Zavala's going to, Zavala's going to go first, so we'll go back there and see if that 3-pin doesn't laugh at her this time on the conversion. And yeah, she made sure to get on that 3-pin this time after that. So here we go. Fakes be resetting, coming in on the left side of your picture. And yeah, we'll definitely, Liz will be down this way. We'll get a good look at her. She'll be on 33 and 34 in game 6. And that's actually where Fakes and company is at right now. So this will be the same pair we'll see Liz on next game. So I wonder if Liz is down here in the 10th frame. I don't see Liz yet, trying to get some intel. And Brendan Holt had a nice run there too while I was busy chatting. He was on the front 7 till now, leaving that 2-7-8 split. Ooh. Mudakeen from Malaysia again. Another good question for you, Frankie. How do you control your mental outlook during competition? Because as we saw for Zavala a little while ago, boy, you get a bad break or 2 in a row, and that can just really start to pile on. How do you keep the smooth and the mental outlook going?
You've got to have a short memory out here. Anytime you're in a big tournament like that, and even Tom Clark earlier, the commissioner of the PBA, was telling me, he says, I don't know what it is, but whenever I'm bowling league, you're just letting the ball go and you're nice and loose, and then I bowl a tournament, no matter what it is, and I get a little tighter, and the nerves come into play, and you've got to be able to control. Those differences. You know you're going to be a little nervous. You know there's a lot more at stake, but you've got to be able to just focus on one thing at a time, being in the present, just controlling what you can control. There's no, bowling is a lot about how the pins fall, but you don't actually control how the pins fall. You can only control what you do until you let go of the ball at the foul line. So once you've let go of that ball, there's nothing else you can do. The pins might fall, the pins might not fall, and you don't really have a say in that. The only thing you can do is try to make the best shots you can, one shot at a time, and the more present you can be with that, the easier that becomes. And if you understand and accept that the pins might not fall your way, and they might fall your way, it's a little easier to just focus on your execution, I think. Just short memory. Whether you get a good break or a bad break, you've got to have a short memory. You've got to be able to refocus and think about the next shot or the current shot only, not shots that have happened or shots that are going to happen in the future.
So we're wrapping up game 5 here. Get those questions in the YouTube chat. Ready? See, we got a couple more we can fire at Frankie in game 6. Coming up next, Bolero Wauwatosa. This is it. We got a couple of players making runs at division leads in both the Women's Classic and Women's Handicap divisions, and we'll focus on those players. Coming up next, game 6. Well, lots of action here in this last game of this last squad of the 2023 LBC National Championships. I'm $2 Phil Brylo. He's Frankie Lavoie, and we've got some runs here. One of them being Liz Johnson right in front of us here for the women's scratch. She's going to need a ton to get the first place because we've got Verity Crowley at 15:22, but she only needs to get past 14:24 for Kayla Pashina, who's currently in that number 3 spot as the top 3 women in Women's Classic advance to Portland, Maine for that FS1 shootout. So Liz looking pretty solid right now to get herself into the top 3 and knock Pashina out. Another player we're keeping an eye on is in the women's handicap division. We have Tracy Fakes. Fakes is going to need a game around 220 to get into the lead. There's only the leader on women's handicap that's going to get there. And right now that's currently Belinda Maple at 14:20. And we have another player who's on 49 and 50. Now let's take a look at him right now with Conrad Brasiglia. Conrad coming in at the 170s, and oh my, that's going to hurt, as that looked like it was a 2-pin that was missed by Conrad.
We're getting word from the PBA Director of Rules and Equipment, Neil Stremmel, that somebody on 55 and 56, I believe, can pass Carlton Chambers with a 300 game.
We'll keep an eye on that. I'm sure Neil will keep us updated. Now let's see who that could be on 55 and 56. Well, geez, we got a front bunch. Not going to get, yeah.
Front 9.
Front 9, let's get there. Boom, Michael Mirabal. Can get to 1487 with all of them.
So
let's
needs
stay
a
here.
Double. Needs a double to overtake Carlton Chambers, who's currently 3rd.
Yeah, double and 7 would do it. Double and 6 would be a tie. I wonder what the rule, I have no idea what the rule would be if 2 players tie for that number 3 spot.
That's a good question.
Do they change it up? Do they both get to go to Portland? Do they have to fight it out in the parking lot here at Bolero Wauwatosa? Is it going to be a coin flip by the commissioner? I don't know what it is, but we'll have to see here. Here's the first ball in the 10th. Oh, we don't have to worry about it, unfortunately. And you just see the full shock and horror for Mirabal as his chance to go to Bayside just went as far right as that ball did. No chance to come back on the washout. So, Sibo, if you're watching.
Sibo was sweating for about 20 seconds there.
Yeah. Yeah, and that knocks him down to 14:51, son of a gun.
14:51, so that takes him all the way out of the top 10, I believe.
Yep. It's amazing how one frame can change your outlook with these games.
Liz Johnson with the front 4, stepping up in the 5th frame. Still with a chance to overtake Verity for that first spot. Looking pretty good to be in the top 3.
Trying to remember if Liz is one of the women that's had a 300 game on TV in pressure situations as this. I remember years ago at the World Series of Bowling in 2014 when Liz made her first PBA TV show, and she threw a huge last game to do it. And that was a brutal format back then with 14 games in the day and the Vegas crowds cheering you on and cheering everybody on at the South Point Bowling Center. a little more cramped confines than you get in the plaza. And yeah, Liz had people hanging off chairs and stuff trying to keep an eye on her. She drew such a crowd that last game and ended up making her way on the show.
She's had plenty of experience throughout her career in pressure situations. She knows how to deal with it.
So keeping an eye on the men's handicap chance for the leader with Conrad Bersaglio. Let's get him on your screen right here in front of you. He's sitting at 14-14 with his 14-24 with his handicap on the spare. Now it's 14-41, so that'd be 14-43 with the spare. And so he'll have a maximum of 120 after that. So he's going to need to get at least a double in there, if not fully stay clean the rest of the way out after having 2 opens. So. It's the miracles of technology we called upon sometime in the booth as we were checking actual pinfall there for a moment. Thanks to the YouTube feed, and we wanted to make sure Pincer hadn't hit anything for another player. And we've got that done. So let's get over to Liz Johnson. She's up on the top 5, on the front 5. Looking to make the top 3, if not the top 1 with getting them all here. You know, you get those questions out there on the internet where people go, who would you have be the one person to throw the strike for you to win the $1 million or save your life or whatever? She's in my short list, no doubt about it, for Liz Johnson.
Yeah, she's a good one.
If I need a 9 count or more, I'll ask Stu Williams.
Yeah, I think, who do people say? People talk about Mike Albee, I think, a lot.
Oh, yeah.
When in his day, maybe not today. I haven't seen him bowl recently.
Yeah, I don't know how much bowling he's doing anyway.
But in his heyday, Mike Albee, I think, was one of those guys. Tommy Jones is a name that gets put out there a lot. Simonson, I would put him in there now. Belmo, obviously.
Bersiglia here needs to stay clean. There's a good one for the young man. Had a couple of players just coming out of youth leagues that have made runs towards that men's handicap division. Sorry about cutting away from you there for a second. We'll get back on his score momentarily. Just want to make sure I didn't miss Liz. So we got Bersiglia at
1450.
Yeah, 1450. So, and he can get another 90 on that score, so that'd be 1540. So.
Well, I think it was 1450 before the strike.
I
don't think that counted.
You're
for
right.
anything.
It doesn't count. So he pretty much needs them all.
If he stays clean, 1550.
Yeah, he needs. Yeah.
If he goes Dutch from here, 1550.
Okay.
He would have enough.
All right, back to Liz.
And Liz is chasing down Verity, who's in first at Verity Crawley, 1522. So Liz can afford 1 miss here.
Not missing on that shot. Front 7 for one of the women's goats. No doubt about that. Liz Johnson. Take a peek in here. Let's see how the woman who's making a run towards the Women's Handicap League, Tracy Fakes. She's on your scoreboard over lane 42 right now. 117 the 6th spare and the 7th. So she can get the 227 scratch, and she can add another. She's going to pretty much need them all, isn't she? to get into the lead, because that's going to add another 110 on. Yeah, so Fakes is going to need them all to get to Portland.
Yeah, 14:28 max.
So we'll keep an eye on things here. Bouncing around, we got 3 potential division lead changes here on this last game, last squad of the 2023 PBA LBC. Of course, we're not over though. Your elite squad, including players like François Lavoie, EJ Tackett, Stu Williams, and more. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. 6 p.m. here at Bolero Wauwatosa for your viewing pleasure for their 6 games. And Fakes gets the 10 to go. Let's get back and see where we're at with Conrad. Not up yet. So we'll get over to Liz Johnson here, looking for number 8.
Conrad did get a double after that open frame. That's going to help him.
Get down, and it does for Johnson. Front 8 for Liz. I'd say this is the biggest shot of this young man's career right here for Brasiglia.
I think every shot thereafter will be.
And I'm sure I'm mangling his name at this point in time. That's the one thing, I get to see you guys on tour all the time. It's really easy to get to your names for a while. I had an extra I in there. Brasagala. And how about that?
It's pretty good. Pretty good shot there. I'm assuming he knows the situation. I'm assuming he knows what he needs. The scores have been posted for a while now, so everyone has access to those.
Yep. Fakes will be stepping up momentarily in her 9th frame as she tries to chase down the Women's Handicap League. And when Liz Johnson steps back up, we'll get to her unless Brascala gets up before Liz. She's got my head on a swivel right now. And unfortunately for Fakes right there, there's the 2-8, and that might be
that's the end of
just
it.
enough to take her out of that chance to get to the.
Yeah, she'll still have a good finish. Might get ahead of second place.
Yeah, Thelma Valley 14:01 in second,
but not enough to make it to Portland, unfortunately.
Yeah, she's probably going to be kicking herself over a couple of single pin misses I've seen during the last 4 games. She's going to blame me for the pocket 7-10 she had in game 3 when I walked down there for 1 frame, and in the 2nd frame she had that. Let's get back to Liz Johnson. This would be a great way to wrap up the regular divisions of the PBA LBC National Championship for 2023 with a 300 out of a Hall of Famer. That'd be a beautiful thing.
So Liz is definitely in the top 3.
Yeah.
The only thing that remains to be seen is if she'll overtake Verity for that top spot. 15:22 is Verity Crawley's score. Liz can get to 15:49. Even with a spare in the first shot of the 10th frame, Liz would be ahead of Verity.
And then we still have Brascala yet to step up in the 10th frame on lane 49. We'll get to him shortly.
How about that top 3 in the women's classic division? Liz Johnson, Verity Crawley, and Danielle McEwen.
I would take all 3 of them as my teammates in the 4-player team event here at the LBC National Championships.
Kind of feel bad for Kayla Pashina.
Yeah,
in that 3rd spot all the way to the last squad, and Liz Johnson comes around. And
yeah, the old woulda, coulda, shoulda probably. Kayla probably thinking that right now. Not sure if she's tuning in, but it's fun watching her shoot 300 on a Saturday night here when she did it a couple weeks back. All right, who's going to fire first here? Conrad Brasaglia up. Brasgala, pardon me. I keep getting the name incorrect. So Briscala up first before Liz. Looking to take over the men's handicap lead. And let's see where he sits score-wise. Is this a must-make for him? And why didn't Mark?
I think there was a scoring malfunction there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened.
I'm pretty sure he got 9. I don't think I saw the 10 pin fall.
Let's get back to Liz, because Liz is looking for. Knock it over, Liz. Come on. Solid 9.
Spare here will be enough to overtake Verity.
And the $5,000 first place check. Liz has been in these situations before. You don't expect somebody like her to miss a pin in the middle of the deck.
Right.
For a tournament win. And if you think about it, though, she gets a $5,000 check, but she gets a chance at another $60,000 in Portland. And the Norm, man. The coolest, that is now the coolest trophy in sports. By far is the Norm. Everybody wants to take Norm home.
Yeah.
So Briscala, they did mark his 9 count. They're waiting on the re-rack. And it has him at 15:09 before that. So with his handicap, but once again, I got to double check on that scoring because he may have already made his way there with the way this scoring works.
I think this is a must make.
Yeah.
That would give him 40 extra, 1540.
Yeah, he needs. So there's Liz. There's your new leader in the women's classic division, 15:28. And this is the biggest shot of Briscala's career. Takes his time on it, and you see right there, you're not over with yet, young man. Greek Church would be really nasty right about now because that'd be a tie.
6 for the win and a trip to Portland, Maine.
And Hunter Lawless, who I believe shot that opening weekend of this LBC tournament with his 1496 and 1544. Yeah, Fakes finished at 1385, so she fell a little bit short. That's 7.
Just enough.
So that will get him to 1546. And you get 2 new people you get to talk to at the end of this, Frankie. You'll be talking to Hall of Famer Liz Johnson and a young man who dream is probably to be bowling you on the PBA Tour someday with Conrad Briscala.
That's exciting. Pretty impressive there to get the late 3-bagger. Pretty good shot in the 10th frame for the 10 pin. Made the spare and did just enough.
So with that, we're going to end our live streaming here in the main feed. Frankie, thanks for joining me in the booth. It's greatly appreciated. Tomorrow night, watch Frankie and all the other top pros here for their 6 games on this LBC National Championship pattern, as they'll be battling up to see which 3 PBA professionals make it to that FS1 Portland telecast at 1. Frankie, get some rest. We'll see you tomorrow. Everybody else, fans, we'll see you tomorrow night as well. 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central here.
Thanks for having me.
Blair Wauwatosa, absolutely. Have a good night, everybody.